This is Chicago. At the dawn of the 21st century, Chicago's media was dominated by a handful of major corporations. But a resistance movement arose to free Chicago's media from their clutches. One player in this movement is the Chicago Independent Media Center and its TV show, Chicago Independent Television. The Independent Media Center is a worldwide network of grassroots correspondents committed to using the tools of the media for promoting social and economic justice. You are watching this month's dispatch from the Chicago Independent Media Center.
Welcome to Chicago Independent Television, a collection of progressive video reports by grassroots media workers produced free from corporate or commercial support or influence. I'm your host, Veronica Castro. In this episode, we'll join with workers at the assembly plant formerly known as Republic Windows and Doors, which saw a workers' victory in 2008 and which returned to the headlines in 2012. We'll also see a local adaptation of a children's classic featuring Rahm The Grinch and Occupy Chicago. And we'll join again with Chicago's Professor D to discuss a recent hunger strike for Palestinian rights. Stay with us.
Chicago Independent Television is not brought to you by Coca-Cola, whose logo is stained red by the blood of murdered Colombian labor union organizers. Learn more at killercoke.org. Coke, the drink of the death squads.
Mr. Bishop, I want to use this picture on the front page of our next issue.
Oh, come now, Nancy. We can't print a picture like that. Paper is read by people all over the city. Just think what a picture like that would do to the reputation of our newspaper.
I don't think we should hide things just because they're unpleasant. How do we stop things like this if we don't let the people know they're happening?
Welcome back to Chicago Independent Television. In 2008, workers at Republic Windows and Doors occupied their plant for 6 days and won back a financial package that was promised to them. In 2012, workers once again occupied the same plant. We'll learn more in this segment from the Chicago TV show Labor Beat.
So on February 26th, Serious Materials purchased what was Republic Windows and Doors. We have an agreement with them that they will rehire all the workers at their previous rate of pay with similar benefits, and that they have to rehire all of them before they can hire anyone else off the street. It's a tremendous victory.
I got my job back, and pretty soon we expect to have more job for all my co-workers.
They're going to be going back pretty much with everything that they had under Republic Windows and Doors now with Serious Materials. You know, we found that this was a really inspiring story for a lot of people, so we hope that this isn't the end, but really the beginning of something. Well, we got a call on Tuesday that the company wanted to meet this morning and wouldn't tell us why. So we had an inkling something bad would happen. We met with them at 9:30 this morning, and they told us they intended to close and that it would be effective immediately, that they wanted to basically shut down the plant, relocate all the machinery to their other manufacturing facilities in Pennsylvania and Colorado. And they were not interested in exploring an option to sell and potentially keep the plant open.
You know, I've been laid off last year in November, but it's some workers still in there. We're here to support them because this is the second time happened again since Republic situation.
And at the end of the first shift, there were 50 people in the cafeteria. We told them what was going on, and the worker said, "We will not leave. We're going to occupy again." They just said, "Okay, we're just going to stay until we get a just resolution." And so we've been here since then.
You know what? It is that happened in 2008 and now it happened today. Inspired people and send a message to the owners that they need to work fairly with everybody, you know.
It's pretty much the same, but now instead of 3 days in advance, it was 1 day. So it's ridiculous what is happening. And unfortunately, you know, we got families to feed, and we're here to support. The work is inside right now.
I can tell you a little story about when the company started in 2009. They started with 7 people, then they start calling later like a few more people, and then last year we were 75 people working in the plant.
Well, exactly what happened, you know, since we got laid off in 2008 from Republic and Windows and Doors, you know, the owner, he make a lot of promises to us in front of all the people, and he make a promise that in 1 year he's going to bring everybody to work again, and he don't keep his promise. You see what's happening right now. He broke the promise, and on top of that, he's going to close the business with no days in advance.
And it seemed for a while that they had a really good plan, and then it became apparent quickly into it that they were making some poor decisions. So right away we were arguing with them and fighting with them and saying, you know, we think you're making poor choices. And today, you know, they told us, they said, well, we never were able to get a foothold in the Chicago and Midwest market.
I'm working here since 1993 as a worker. I've been doing different things: assembling, welding, cutting, assistant supervision. In my opinion, it's that they're not really put the right people in front of business here in Chicago, you know, in the market, you know, to get their new customers, to really create those jobs that he promised to us. And, you know, when I come back again from layoff, what I saw was he was focused only on commercial glass, which is just more money on that. And we used to making residential windows, residential glass, and he didn't pay attention to those things. So I said to myself, how are you going to bring 280 people from outside when you focus on commercial glass, and you know it's only 25 people positioned right there?
They closed last year two lines, Windows line. They got laid off on November, December last year, and 2 weeks, 33 people.
Well, they depended very heavily on the weatherization program and making windows specifically for weatherization. And I think that they really missed out on looking at potentially selling it to just regular folks who needed a window. I mean, we had a lot of unemployed people. We offered to have them go leaflet and just hand out promotional flyers, and they turned us down flat. You know, it was just silly. It was silly. So it was very frustrating to watch how they couldn't seem to get going. But, you know, they were the bosses, so we could only complain. But today we're taking over the factory.
Banks got bailed out, we got sold out. 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 Banks got bailed out.
I just want to say this is a movement that's spreading all around the world. And I want to point out that there are several thousand steelworkers in France who've taken over ArcelorMittal, which is one of the largest steel companies in the world. They've taken over one of their plants, and it's for the exact same reason. They say, we're not leaving, these jobs are ours. If management wants to go, fine, go. But we're staying and we're going to make steel.
Well, the police is just here, you know, they're taking care of their business. They don't let us in like back then in 2008, but it's all right, you know. We're still here, we're supporting them outside. We're still supporting all the workers, the union, and everybody here.
After about, I guess now it's been 6 or 7 hours, negotiations have resumed with Sirius Energy. We're now talking to folks in California at the corporate offices, and we are hopeful that we are going to potentially find a fair resolution that will mean jobs here in Chicago at this plant.
How long are you prepared to stay in there and occupy this place?
Well, as long as it takes. We did it once before and we'll do it again. Thank you. You guys really made a difference. There was a moment there where we weren't sure if we were going to be able to stay, but having you here made all the difference. Having this solidarity, knowing that people in Chicago say, enough is enough. We need to fight for jobs. We need to fight for justice. We need umbrellas. That's what we need to tell people, to bring us umbrellas. We have food. We're good with food.
Hi, I'm Kirsten. I'm from the Chicago Teachers Union. I'm a preschool teacher in CPS. I'm here today because I support the workers here in their efforts to protect their jobs. These men and women are here fighting to protect themselves, to protect their families, and the owners of these companies only care about their bottom line, and their bottom line is millions and billions of dollars. All these people have are their jobs. Rahm Emanuel is at war against the working people of Chicago and against Chicago's teachers. And I'm here to stand in solidarity with these workers, and I hope everybody stands in solidarity with the school children, the families, and the workers in Chicago public schools over the next several months. We need you. Okay, thank you.
And hopefully we got a victory this time once again. You know, we are inviting to someone who want to keep running the show. You know, we would like to see someone here that can make an investment. We got the equipment, we got the right people, we got everything.
Brothers and sisters, we just occupy, we're done with the occupation at this moment, and we glad all the participation of all of you. Thanks to everyone, and we got good resolution, better than we expected. We're gonna have 90 days on this, and to work in and try to get somebody else to buy the company with that possibility to probably the workers could run under our own. Lo que dije,
give us hope, give us word.
We were able to reach an agreement with the company that keeps the plant open for the next 90 days. People will be paid for that time. And the company will work with the union to find a way to keep it open under new ownership, whatever that may be. So we are really happy. We feel like this is a very hopeful moment, and we want to do everything we can now to figure out how to keep these jobs.
Past few decades, they keep throwing that term around, class warfare. Oh, they're preaching class warfare. Class warfare has only been an onslaught against one side, and it's been against our side the past 20 or 30 years. It hasn't been a class warfare until recently. It's been an onslaught against children, against workers, and against families. And now people are starting to wake up to the fact that we don't have to take it, and then you can fight back, you can occupy your workplace, and then you don't have to lose your job. You don't have to be passive, and you don't have to be powerless about it.
You're gonna miss with Chicago. And watch out, G8.
Chicago Independent Television is not brought to you by Blackwater, a worldwide leader in security and murder. Learn more at blackwaterbook.com. Blackwater, we kill innocent Iraqis so that you can feel more secure.
I am a soldier who survived the fear of facing Uncle Sam and saying, "Sir, No, sir. I won't fight for lies. Forgive me, wounded soldier, for not being there to ease your pain. I'll try on this end to bring you home now.
Welcome back to Chicago Independent Television. Chicago's mayor, Rahm Emanuel, has shown little love for Occupy Chicago or for working-class Chicagoans. In this segment, we'll see a film about the struggle between the mayor and Occupy Chicago, inspired by a children's classic book.
Every protester down at Occupy liked their rights a lot, but Rahm Emanuel, who lived far north of Occupy, did not. Rahm hated their rights, their jobs, and every one of their books. Now, please don't ask why. He probably just doesn't know how bad this looks. It could be that his head wasn't screwed on quite right. It could be, perhaps, that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his head, he stood there in October, so angry his hair turned bright red. He stared down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the happy, cheering faces below in the makeshift tent town. For he knew every protester down in the tent town below was busy now with their hearts and their minds all aglow. And they're refusing to leave the park, he snarled with a sneer. Soon it will be 11 p.m., it's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously tapping. I must find a way to stop them from camping. For at 11 p.m., he would later unveil all the boys and girls would be sent straight to jail for violating the park curfew, and then how they'd all boo. Oh, they'd boo, 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 boo. That's the one thing he hated, when he got constant boo, 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 boos. Then the protesters, young and old, would sit down to a feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, 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 feast. They'd each feast on justice and the bologna sandwich, which is something that would make Rahm twitch, 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 twitch. And then they'd do something he'd like least of all. Every protester down at Occupy, the tall and the small, would stand close together and they would start singing. They'd stand hand in hand, and to Rahm this was stinging. They'd sing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing, 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 sing. But for now, he was convinced that they'd all just get up and leave. And once morning would come, the loss of their camp, they would grieve. He had no idea that all through the night they would sing. And the longer this lasted, the more Rahm thought about this upcoming spring. NATO will be here in May. I have to get these hippies out today. But how? Then he got an idea, an awful idea. Rahm got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do, Rahm laughed in his throat. He called Police Chief Gary McCarthy to give him his vote. And he chuckled, and he chuckled. Arrest those peaceful women and men. Tell them they should stop protesting at 10. All we need is a charge. Rahm thought long and hard about it, but because they were being peaceful, this challenged his wit. Did that stop the old Grinch? No, Rahm simply said. If I can't arrest them for protesting, I can arrest them for requesting to dare stay in the park past 11 o'clock at night. This is surely not their sight. Mr. Mayor, McCarthy said, I thought you knew. The Constitution is more important. This for sure is true. Lock them up. Let the judge decide, Rahm said with a sneer. And then he said quietly, I want this to be clear. We in Chicago are serious about our tiny little laws, so you and your police force will bring out your claws. We'll make them sorry they ever stepped foot in that park. And with that, McCarthy and Emanuel were ready to make their mark. Fast forward to 11 o'clock that night. It's when the CPD wanted to give them a fright. The park is closing now, they said to the fest. If you don't leave now, you'll be subject to arrest. But the protesters held their ground, so they took them away. These are my First Amendment rights you're violating, they would say. Early the next morning, Rahm Emanuel awoke, expecting the whole occupation to choke. They'll be done with it now, since they went to jail for the night. But this had the exact opposite effect. It did not cause a single fright. They came back even stronger than before, and Rahm Emanuel surely thought, this is war. This is war, 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 war. Why, Rahm Emanuel, can't you see? We're just trying to express that your budget cuts and ridiculous tactics are causing us so much stress. Those of us who even have jobs are losing them every day. Without jobs, all of these taxes, how are we supposed to pay? The library's budget is being cut by several $1 million, and let's hope you're not a 911 caller. Dispatchers and police stations are being cut and closed too, and of course the Chicago public schools, but that I am sure you knew. Just because we're not rich doesn't mean we are lazy. Anyone who says so must surely be crazy. Too bad Rahm is closing half of the mental health clinics in the city. Those people are surely delusional, and anyway, it is quite a pity. And all the while, big businesses aren't paying their taxes, but we, the citizens of Chicago, are getting screwed in our butts. But I suppose that's the price you pay for living in a city where the politics of the past and the present are not so pretty. Rahm the Grinch tried to make the city full of gloom, but little did he know in the spring the flowers of victory would bloom. The people of the city, the suburbs, and everywhere around would make sure that Rahm Emanuel would hear their sound. By bus and by plane, the protesters would assemble, which is surely enough to make Rahm the Grinch tremble. "We are the 99%, they would all shout, and we deserve to be listened to without a doubt. And for the week of NATO in May, justice will be brought to the protesters, I'd say. The mayor will be overwhelmed with how many of us come out, so many people that he'll have to listen to us, no doubt. He'll listen to the people whose homes have been taken away, and the teachers who have been told at school they cannot stay, the children whose schools are soon to be shut down, the librarians, the transit workers, and everyone else in town. In the spring, we will unite with many different occupations. We will even unite with people from many different nations. And in the end, we will win, for we have right on our side. And this victory will be shared. It will be shared worldwide. From Egypt to Wall Street, we are fighting for each other, for your sisters, your fathers, your mothers, and your brothers. And this war will be won by the 99%. Grab your sleeping bags, your boots, and even your tents. We will occupy Chicago. We will occupy Wall Street. We will occupy everywhere, even your tweets. Until we get what we deserve, we will not be done. Equality for everyone. Then we know we've won. We're far from that now, but this is just the beginning. We have won the first battle. The 1%'s heads are already spinning. This spring, we will continue to be the source of their frustration. So join us on April 7th to continue our occupation.
Chicago Independent Television is not brought to you by Walmart. There's a reason we're the world's most profitable corporation. We pay our employees peanuts. Learn more at walmartwatch.com. Walmart. Always low wages, always.
Burger, fries.
We understand.
Now you got it.
There's never been a better time to buy.
Nope, no tea.
Buy more equal than you.
Welcome back to Chicago Independent Television. We'll now join with Chicago's Professor D in a segment about a recent hunger strike over Palestinian rights.
Yo, yeah. I don't mind stealing bread from the mouths of decadence, but I can't feed off the powerless. Yo, remember this? Okay, check it out. Hunger Strike 2012. Eddie Vedder, what's up? Professor D here, peace, but not without justice. Just as before, breaking news broadcast with more on the one-sided war of a terrorist state against Palestine's perilous fate and Khader Adnan's courageous fight, ending 66 days of his hunger strike. Abducted in December, community member used as a human shield by troops to enter his home in a violent raid, terrorizing his mother and daughters, afraid that they might not see him again. It's the 8th time in 6 years he's been abducted for no crime, interrogated, tortured, but no word or syllable. Refused all food on civil disobedience principle. He joined the ranks of those who fight tanks and colonial strength with Satyagraha, the force of truth, and used that to combat the force of troops. Held in so-called administrative detention, a necessary trade of a fascist state's mechanism of imprisonment for months at a time, renewable at the drop of a dime without releasing any evidence or plots of a crime. No charge or trial, just the dislike of people occupying and trying to silence the crying of those vying for just human rights. This strikes him with the enemy launches, but hunger strikes are the weapon of conscience. By Western media, he was ignored. The major human rights orgs, they were on board. In the middle of this International Action Week, they were forced to concede a date for the release. So the strike is done, but the fight's not won. There's hundreds held in indefinite detention, so he's still not free, or really will not be till Palestine's human rights are guaranteed. One of the great ironies of the last century is the dialectic of the colonial legacy. Europe's most terrorized, racialized kind made a state that embodied that very same crime, representing to the world that blatant paradigm of the racialized state is really apartheid. So all those amongst us who hunger for justice will stay hungry until love is triumphant. All those amongst us who hunger for justice will stay hungry until love is triumphant. Yeah, yeah. I don't mind stealing bread from the mouths of decadence, but I can't feed off the powerless. Yo. So all those amongst us who hunger for justice will stay hungry until love is triumphant. Yeah, stay hungry. The struggle continues. Professor D.US. USA Rap News. Stay tuned. Khader Adnan. Peace.
You've been watching Chicago Independent Television, a project of the Chicago Independent Media Center Video Collective. The Independent Media Center is a growing worldwide network of media producers, journalists, citizens, and activists, working to put the media in the hands of everyday people and away from corporate and commercial interests. To learn more, visit our website at chicago.indiemedia.org. There you can find out about upcoming Chicago area events and how to get involved in making your own media, including how to help make this very TV show. Thanks for watching. See you next time.